Persona 5 Royal and Persona 4 Golden are both amazing games in their own regard, but it can be hard to decide which one to play first. If you're one of those people contemplating whether to play Persona 5 Royal or Persona 4 Golden first, you've come to the right video. I'll keep this video as spoiler free as possible, so enjoy. I first played Persona 5 shortly after its release in 2017, and similarly played Royal as soon as it came out on Steam in 2020. It quickly became my favourite game due to its mixture of RPG elements, social simulation, intricate story, and most notably its surprising dark and deep themes of personal freedom. And, to add to this, it has remained my favourite game for the past 6 years. Now, Steam released Persona 4 Golden in 2020, and I actually bought the game on release, but I didn't commit to playing it until earlier this year. Going from Persona 5 Royal to Persona 4 Golden, I was mostly thrown off by the lack of gameplay mechanics, and to be honest, I missed the stylish aesthetic of 5. And now after finishing the true ending of Golden recently, I truly wish I could go back in time to 2020 and slap my head with the fridge, because that game is genuinely too good for me to have ignored for 3 years. Golden is in no way inferior to Royal, and depending on what aspects of the games you have affinity to, I'd actually argue that Golden is even better. But then again, everything is subjective and really lies on what you value in these types of games. I'm going to break down common aspects in both games and compare them to each other so you have a better idea of which one you should play first. I'll be comparing the combat, music, cast, and story of these two games, and give a general overview of how each element is presented and executed, and what you should be expecting going into them. Let's start.
To hell with this! If that's what you really think of me, then I'm gonna go hit the girls' tent right now!
Starting off with probably the most different element in both games, combat. Persona 4's combat mechanics revolve around hitting the enemies from behind to trigger a player advantage, which just means you get to have your turn first, and then hitting the enemy's weaknesses, downing them to get a 1 more. I'll explain what all this means. There's a total of 7 different elements, not including Almighty, in Persona 4. Physical, fire, ice, electricity, wind, dark, and light. Each enemy and ally have resistances and weaknesses to specific elements. Think like Pokemon. Except in this game, when you hit an enemy with a move of their weakness, you can knock them down, and are granted an extra turn. Knocking down all enemies allows you to perform an all-out attack, which basically does guaranteed damage to all enemies, regardless of resistances. This is the gameplay loop of Persona 4, and while it's not very exciting, it's fun enough so that you won't get terribly bored by the end of the game. Now, Persona 5's combat, on the other hand, builds on the same premise, but is a lot more fleshed out with more mechanics, more options, more elements, etc. I mean, you have a fucking gun!
For his neutral special, he wields a gun.
Enough said. There's a total of 10 elements, again not including Almighty, introducing Gun, Psychokinesis, and Nuke. The light and dark in Persona 4 also pretty much got renamed to Bless and Curse. While the addition of these elements already make Royal's combat a lot more fun than Golden's, we're not even accounting for the most broken mechanic ever introduced in a Persona game, the Baton Pass. The Baton Pass allows you to swap teammates whenever you down an enemy, meaning that more often than not, your 1 turn actually becomes 20 turns. And while this is fun and all, that also comes at the cost of the gameplay being considerably easier than Golden's, so pick your poison. Persona 5 also introduces stealth and a new level of verticality in the overworld, to the point where it's basically impossible for you not to get the advantage. The all-out attack system also got reworked and looks sexy as fuck. You can also talk to enemies after downing them. This is a major part of the game, so I'll leave you to explore that part on your own. All in all, Persona 5's combat is a lot more flashier, with more options, and just a lot more fun overall. That being said, it is considerably easier than Persona 4's. You get to choose the difficulty in both games though, so overall speaking, I would definitely prefer Persona 5's combat. Before I get into this topic, it's widely known that Persona 3, 4, and 5's music are universally praised, and rightly so. I'm not a music expert, and I don't believe that one soundtrack is better than the others. They're all genuine masterpieces. Please, if you haven't already, do yourself a favor and check them out. Music is an integral part of all Persona games, and they aren't chained down by genres. What I mean by that is Persona 4's music follows a pop rock mix with some rap elements and hints of electronica and funk. It mixes a lot of elements from different genres together to create a jaw-dropping, absolutely sensational soundtrack. If you're into upbeat, energetic 2000 songs, then I'd say yes, Persona 4's music is definitely for you. Persona 5 on the other hand focuses on a more jazzy, laid-back vibe, where it invites you to just chill out and relax. However, in the climaxes of the game, it also does turn into more of a rock-based sound, with heavy guitars and drums. Also, Lynn's voice is so good and unique, I've honestly never heard anything like it. For some reason, I'm not sure why, maybe because of the port or something, but Persona 4's battle sound effect is very harsh to the ear, especially the all-out attack. Persona 5 sound effects on the other hand are polished and satisfying. In my personal opinion, Persona 5 has the better music, but definitely not by a lot. This is also taking into account I'm more biased towards a jazz funk type sound, so it's not really a fair battle. The entire OSTs are uploaded on YouTube, so you can make the decision for yourself. For games like Persona, the cast of characters are undeniably important. Since you're spending most of your free time maxing out social links, the game has to nail these characters, and they've been successful in doing that for both games. Really, I'd say that I actually love most of the characters in both these games, with a few exceptions.
Joker, my wife left me and my family is going to starve! All I need is Sojiro's credit card number and the 3 wacky numbers on the back!
For convenience, I'm only going to analyze your main party in this video, so the Phantom Thieves for Persona 5 and the Investigation Team for Persona 4. So, after playing both, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, the Investigation Team beats the shit out of the Phantom Thieves. Seriously, I can't believe that a game managed to capture friendship in such an intricate and realistic way as Persona 4. The cast is complete god tier. That isn't to say that the Phantom Thieves are bad characters at all. Ryuji's my boy.
For real?
But it doesn't capture the same sense of friendship as the Investigation Team. If I had to rate the cast out of 10, the Investigation Team gets a 9 and the Phantom Thieves gets a 6. In Persona 5, it really feels like they're more your teammates than buddies, whereas in Persona 4, you're a bunch of closely bonded friends hanging out for fun and to create memories. That is actually the single factor that made me like Persona 4 more than 5. Seriously, the cast is that good, and the events that take place like school camp are better because of it. And as a last note, the villain in Persona 4 has a lot more depth and is better written than the one in 5. Persona games are story-heavy games, and the stories for both games are top-notch. Really, if you're a huge story fan like me, you won't get disappointed picking either. Persona 5 is like an Inception vigilante superhero story, while Persona 4's is a murder mystery. Now, I have to be careful with what I say here because obviously I don't want to spoil anything. One of the most impactful reasons for Persona 5 becoming my favorite game was that I was attracted by its brilliant story, and I wasn't disappointed at all. It was my favorite story in a video game. But, somehow, I don't know how Atlas did it, but Persona 4 has trumped even that. My tongue's restricted here, but just know, the twists in that game go crazy. So if you're more into vigilante underdog stories, then by all means go for Persona 5. And if you're more into murder mysteries, then go for Persona 4. It's hard to compare the stories because both are so good, but if I had to choose one, Persona 4's comes out on top. And that pretty much wraps up my comparison video essay. I'm going to put up a table of the comparisons I made between the two games on screen. I hope this has brought you some clarity in which game to play first, and if you've already played both, then I hope you were at least entertained. Thanks for watching.